The debate surrounding the Unite the Kingdom rally has continued to intensify across Britain, drawing sharply divided reactions from both supporters and critics. Welcome back to UK is Burning, where the truth doesn't stay hidden. What happens next could change everything. Many of those who attended the demonstrations have described their participation as driven by frustration and a feeling of being ignored by political leaders and public institutions. From their perspective, concerns around crime, immigration, social division, and public safety are not being addressed with enough urgency, particularly within local communities. Supporters argue that these concerns are rooted in real experiences and reflect a wider demand for political change. However, critics have questioned the direction of the rally, particularly after reports that certain controversial figures were linked to the event. According to opponents, some of these individuals have previously been associated with inflammatory rhetoric, conspiracy narratives, and extremist viewpoints in different countries. They argue that their involvement undermines the rally's stated message of unity and risks deepening social division rather than resolving it. The controversy further escalated following allegations that some invited speakers had made offensive or extreme remarks about immigrants and minority communities. Political commentators suggested that allowing such figures to be associated with the event could increase tensions and contribute to wider societal polarization. In response, UK authorities and the Home Office defended their decision to restrict entry for several individuals, stating that the measures were taken to prevent potential incitement and maintain public order during a sensitive period. However, critics of this approach argued that the process of exclusion appears inconsistent. They claimed that individuals with mainstream political views have also faced restrictions, raising questions about how decisions are made and whether ideological bias plays a role. The discussion then broadened into wider debates around free speech, immigration, and public safety. Some participants argued that individuals who are perceived to promote extremist or harmful rhetoric should not be permitted entry into the country under any circumstances, while others insisted that such decisions must be based strictly on clear legal thresholds rather than subjective interpretation. Attention then turned to recent public demonstrations, with commentators noting that large-scale protests had largely concluded without major incidents. Some saw this as evidence that concerns about violence had been overstated, while others maintained that the presence of controversial figures always carries a risk of escalation, even if no direct incidents occur. The conversation then expanded further into comparisons with pro-Palestinian marches held over recent years. It was argued by some that similar slogans and expressions have been treated differently depending on political context, with accusations of inconsistent enforcement by authorities. In response, others maintained that policing decisions are based on legal criteria and assessed case by case, particularly when it comes to potential incitement or support for violence. Law enforcement agencies, including the Metropolitan Police, were said to continue monitoring protests closely and taking action where necessary. The debate also touched on accusations of two-tier policing, with claims that different groups may be treated differently depending on the nature of their political message. These claims were strongly disputed, with counter-arguments stating that enforcement is guided by law, not political alignment. Further disagreement emerged over trust in government institutions, particularly the Home Office, with some expressing confidence in official decisions, while others questioned their consistency and effectiveness in handling complex security and immigration issues. The discussion also reflected broader tensions around immigration and border control. Some argued that individuals entering the country through irregular routes present different risks compared to those arriving through formal visa systems, and that policy reflects this distinction. Others countered that concerns about extremist ideology apply across all forms of entry, regardless of method. As the debate continued, it became clear that the central issue extended far beyond a single rally. Instead, it reflected a wider national divide over free expression, political ideology, public safety, immigration policy, and the role of the state in regulating speech and protest. Ultimately, the Unite the Kingdom rally became a focal point for a much larger conversation, one that highlights deep disagreements within British society about trust in institutions, fairness in enforcement, and the boundaries between free speech and perceived harm. For more videos like this, stay connected with us and don't forget to subscribe.